Assalamu alaikum. This is Shakeel Ayaz from English 2K19, having roll number 33, and my subject is History of English Language, and our concerned teacher is Sir Hussain Ali Kumbar Saab. And today I would present my semester video presentation over here, and I have chosen 4 topics for my semester video presentation. And my first topic is Germanic languages. So the Germanic languages are the branch of Indo-European language family, and scholars have often divided the Germanic language into 3 groups. The first group is called the West Germanic, and it includes the English, Germanic and the Netherlandic language. And the second group is the North Germanic group, which includes the Swedish, Icelandic, Norwegian and Frosish group. And the third group is East Germanic group, which only extent comprising only Gothic and the languages of Vandals, Burgundians and few other tribes. That means East Germanic group of languages is based upon some tribes which try to use and this language, and we have some numbers of language speakers. In number of native speakers, English with 450 million clearly ranks third among the language of the world after Mandarin and Spanish. Germanic with some 98 million probably ranks the 10th after Hindi, Bengali, Arabic and Portuguese, Russian and Japanese. To these figures may be added those for persons with another native language who have learned one of the Germanic languages for their commercial, scientific, literary or other purposes. English is unquestionably the world's most widely used second language, and we have some proofs about that. The earliest historical evidence of Germanic is provided by the isolated word and names recorded by the Latin authors beginning in the 1st century BCE. From approximately 200 CE, there is an inscription carved in the 24 letters runic alphabet. The earliest extensive Germanic text is the incomplete Gothic Bible, translated about 350 CE by the Gothic Bishop Wulfa and written in 27-letter alphabet of the translator own design. The latter version of the runic alphabet were used sparingly in England and Germany, but moved widely in the Scandinavia. In the latter area down to early modern times, all extensive later Germanic texts, however, used for adaptation of Latin alphabet. And my second topic is Indo-European languages. So the Indo-European languages are a family of related languages that today are widely spoken in the America, Europe and also Western and Southern Asia. Just as languages such as Spanish, French, Portuguese and Italian are descendant from the Latin, Indo-European languages are believed to derive from the Latin. Indo-European languages are believed to derive from the Latin and from the hypothetical language which is known as the Proto-Indo-European, which is no longer spoken. And with the passage of time, there is evidence from Greek that since the speakers of Proto-Indo-European language did not develop a writing system, we have no physical evidence of it. The science of linguistics has been trying to reconstruct the Proto-Indo-European language using several methods, and although an accurate restitution of it seems impossible, which we have today a general picture of what Proto-Indo-European speakers had in common, both linguistically and culturally. In addition to use of comparative methods, there are students based on the comparisons of myths, laws and social institutions. The second definition, which proves that Indo-European and Germanic language, is that Indo-European language have a large number of branches: Anatolian, Indian, Iranian, Indo-Iranian, Greek, Italic, Celtic, Germanic, American, Torchian, Balto-Slavic, and Albanian. Even Albania was connected with them. The Germanic language and the Germanic branch is divided in three sub-branches, which are earlier told that East Germanic, currently extant North Germanic containing Old Norse, the ancestors of all modern Scandinavian language, and the West Germanic containing the Old English and Old Saxon and Old High German. And our third topic is Old English. So basically, Old English developed from a set of Anglo-Frisian or Agvonic dialects originally spoken by the Germanic tribes, traditionally known as the Angles and Saxons and Jutes. As the Angles and Saxons became dominant in England, their language replaced the language of Roman Britain, commonly known as the Britannic or a Celtic language, and Latin brought to Britain by a Roman invasion. Old English had four main dialects associated with the particular Anglo-Saxon kingdoms: Mercian, Northumbrian, Kentish, and West Saxon. It was the West Saxon that formed the basis of the literary standard of Old English period, although the dominant forms of Middle and the Modern English would develop mainly from the Mercian. The speech of eastern and the northern parts of England was subject to strong Old Norse influence due to the Scandinavian and the rule of settlement being in the 9th century. That means the tough literary work was produced by the West Saxon, and the example of that is the famous Beowulf poem, which consists of how many and Old English as a part of Germanic language. The English language is one of the West Germanic languages, and its closest relatives are Old Frisian and Old Saxon. Like other Old Germanic languages, it is very different from modern English and impossible for modern English speakers to understand without study. Within Old English grammar, nouns, adjectives, pronouns, and verbs have many influential endings and forms, and word order is much free. The oldest English inscriptions were written using a runic system, but from about 8th century this was replaced by a version of the Latin alphabet. Influence of English in modern times. The old Germanic myths were added in the language, that the names of the days were of their gods when they were pagans. That means the old English speakers who were West Saxons, earlier they were pagans, and then Saint Augustine came and made him Christians, but before Christianity he were pagans, and they named the days with the name of their gods. For example, Sunday, Monday, Friday. And a girl or a lady was Fra, which was the goddess of beauty. From her name, those pagans West Saxons set the name of a day which is called Friday. And we have another clear example, Thursday, which is named by their god, the Thor. The famous Thor which we see in the Avengers Infinity War movie, the same god was the god of West Saxons, and they named the day Thursday. And our last and fourth topic is origin of language. The origin of language and its evolutionary emerges in the human species have been subject of speculation for several And our last topic is origin of language. The origin of language and its evolutionary emerges in the human species have been subject of speculation for several centuries. The topic is difficult to study because the lack of direct evidence, Consequently, scholars wishing to study the origin of language must draw interference from other kinds of evidence such as the fossils, records, archaeological evidence, contemporary language diversity, studies of language and acquisition, and also comparisons between the human language and the system of communication existing among animals, particularly other primitives particularly other primitives And my last topic is origin of language. So the origin of language and its evolutionary emerges in the human species have been subject of speculation for several centuries. The topic is difficult to study because of the lack of direct evidence. Consequently, scholars wishing to study the origin of language must draw interference from the other kinds of evidence such as fossils, recorded archaeological evidences, contemporary language diversity, studies of language acquisition, and comparisons between the human language and the system of communication existing among the animals, particularly other primitives. Many argue that the origin of language probably related closely to the origin of modern human behavior, but there is a little agreement about the implication and directionally to the connection. There are some solutions for that this shortage of empirical evidence has caused many scholars regard the entire topic as unsuitable for serious studies. In 1866, the Linguistic Society of Paris banned any existing or future debates on the subject, a prohibition which remained influential across much of the Western world until late in the 20th century. Today, there are various hypotheses about how, why, when, and where language might have emerged. And also, we have some theories about the evolution of language which are accepted by the doctors of language, and they have some much percentage that can be true theories. So basically there are 5 theories in the table, and the first theory is bow theory, and this theory says that the human learned the languages from the voice and sounds of birds and the beast, because earlier humans they used to live in jungles, and in the Stone Age they used to live on the mountains. Because of that, they listened the voices of beasts and birds, and they tried to speak like that. Second theory is Uhu theory. This theory saw the first words as emotional interjection and exclamation, tragic by pain, pleasure, surprise, happiness, and anger, etc. And the third theory is called the ding dong theory. In this theory, what he called the ding dong theory, which states that all things have a vibrating natural resonance, echoism somehow by man in the earliest words. And the third and fourth theory is the yo-he-ho theory. This theory claims language emerged from the collective rhythmic labor and the attempt to synchronize muscular effort, resulting in the sound as a heavy automating with sound as ho. That means earlier times labor used to work. With their work they used pressure on their muscles, and with the pressure of their muscles sound came out from their mouth, and they listened that sound and tried to extend sound like that and produce sound like that. From that language is emerged. And also the last theory, which is called the Tata theory. This theory has been proposed in 1930 by Sir Richard Paget. According to the Tata theory, human made the earliest words by the tongue movement that mimicked manual gesture, rendering them the audible. That means and in the final conclusion, this has not confirmed yet that how language came to human mind, but various hypotheses are rare in the field of linguistics and the work is going on. And yet this is not confirmed that how language arose or language arose with these theories, or there can be religious source also. It means religion's view is different from the scientific view of language, and scientists are trying to confirm that how language arrived.